I have come up to Alladale in Scotland to speak with the owner of this wilderness reserve estate, Paul Lister, who has become very famous for his desire to bring wolves to the Scottish Highlands. But I'm going to be speaking with Paul about other aspects of where Alladale is going over the next few years.
Well, it's been 20 years now since, we've been rewilding up here, and over the last 20 years, there's a lot of people have had sort of different ideas and thoughts. So, I think for the last 2 decades, we've sort of been doing the rewilding, and whilst we haven't achieved our main goal with bringing wolves back into a 50,000 acre area, we've managed to, do a lot of things up here. Whether it be planting trees or restoring peatland or doing studies on wild boar or releasing red squirrels or breeding wildcats and being involved with our ZSS. And also a lot of community engagement. We've been having school trips up here every spring, early summer for the last 15 years. We're just reviewing it this year, and next year we're launching a new schools program. And an outreach program for adults as well to come up and see what we've been doing. But all that said and done, what has it led to? Well, I think that it's led to a lot of other people who've got land or what have you in Scotland to come up and be curious and have a look around, and you'd be surprised. I mean, when you imagine that much of the estates in Scotland have been run in a sort of Victorian style of hunting, shooting, fishing, there's a lot of change going on. And it's encouraging to see, and it's also more inclusive, because when you open up a place to a wider variety of guests away from the people that enjoy field sports, you're actually looking at probably 95% of the marketplace. So that's really healthy, and that also will help uplift and engage all the rural communities up here who've lost so many opportunities. Hospitality is a big driver of jobs and opportunities, I think, and that's the future. I also see us being a lot more to do with wellness. We like things like yoga and fitness and boot camps and this kind of stuff. On the environmental side, over the next few years, well, I was just sitting outside one of our cottages last week, and I was looking at these meadows. I was thinking, God, wouldn't it be nice to see in the next 5 years wildcats stalking little mice out on those meadows? And stuff like that. Get these wildcats out. This year is the first year that Edinburgh have released some cats into the Cairngorms, and I think that I want to be high up on the list of next venues as to where we can bring some wildcats back in. In regards to the bigger vision, which is to do with wolves, there's also some movement on that. 20 years ago, I think the Daily Mail called me howling mad, and now, I think there are a number of people who kind of understand that vision to have a fenced area, a bit like in South Africa. That the only opportunity of bringing back these large apex predators is within a controlled area. I mean, wolves are now running through every country in Europe. Not everyone's happy about it, but they're there. They're a protected species, and just like any other animal on this planet, we share it. We don't own it. This October we're going to Holland to see a pine marten and badger hide, probably one of the most efficient ones in Europe, and then we're going to come back and we're going to build one just not far from the lodge here, and we'll bring some pine martens in there each evening and show guests. I think we need to do that. I saw 2 pine martens on a random bike ride the other day, and it was quite a moment. And to be able to manifest that, I think, like all these forest-dwelling animals, they're quite shy, and there are certain protocols and things you can do. I mean, you can see badgers quite easily if you know what time and where to stand. They'll come out at certain times of the day, but the pine marten needs a bit of coaxing, and I think we need to use a little bit of manipulation from time to time in order to give people that opportunity. And if the more nature they see, the more they're going to fall in love with it and want to save it. If you can't see it, you only see it through the screen, then I think sometimes it helps if you get in front of it. There's a lovely hide down in the Isle of Wight, you know, where they have red squirrels there. You know, beautiful spot, you know, to go and see the squirrels. And sometimes we just need to put a bit of food out and get them into a place. But on the front lawn here, we see squirrels every morning virtually.
What was the most challenging aspect of the whole project?
Well, I mean, challenging is actually planting 1 million trees. That's a big challenge because the fences you have to put up, and that's very time consuming. And that process seemed to go on for years. I mean, it was years, but it seemed to go on longer. But, you know, that's been challenging, you know, just putting in saplings into an environment that's covered in heather. So you have to mound the ground and prepare it and various things like that. Challenging has been getting guests to come and visit, you know, because it's not been everyone's cup of tea to visit the Scottish Highlands. You know, Scotland has this reputation for a number of reasons about weather and so on and so forth. And, you know, but that's changing. We've all seen the fires now in Europe, bad wildfires, extreme temperatures. You know, Scotland's looking quite attractive now. And so, despite all our efforts over the years to bring tourism up here, and, you know, we've been reasonably successful, I think it'll be augmented now with the climate crisis. Despite having lost the great wood of Caledon, it's still pretty majestic, and you know, it's still a great place to drive around and visit and explore. I think the old woods at Sciach, which is at the end of Glen Alladale, is a place that is very special. And when I take guests down there, it almost draws people to tears when they stand in that old remaining bit of Caledonian pine forest with trees that are 300-400 years old. And they get a bit humbled and they think, wow, that was all that was left. That's all that we decided to leave behind, you know, results of shipbuilding and the British Empire and Industrial Revolution, 2 World Wars. And the only bit that's left is the bit that's on the top of that ridge over there, and also the Sciach Woods, which is down the head of Glen Alladale. And I think they're pretty favourite areas of mine. That one's a little bit more to get into, but the one at Glen Alladale, yeah, so it sort of gives you a bit of a hint of the past, you know.
It will be my next place to visit.
Yeah, I think from your lodge you've just got to get across the river. So you'll find a way. If you don't mind getting a bit of wet feet, you just get across the river and just walk in those woods. You'll see them. Walk along from your cottage. It's about probably 3 miles. Good.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's been fantastic to speak to you, and I'm such an admirer of what you've done here.
Well, thank you for those words, and thank you for coming up and staying with us.
Yeah,
staying with us.
you.
Yeah. Time again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cheers.